we have our president-elect candidates. We would like to start off with Peter DeVita as our first candidate.
Thank you. I was told we were supposed to speak from the podium, so I'm going to do that. Well, thank you, York Chapter. This is the first time that a chapter has run a meeting exclusively for candidates, particularly for president-elect. For most of PEO's history, presidents were figureheads. The process had no campaigns, no issues debated, virtually no leadership. This debilitating process was called succession planning. Meanwhile, the profession expanded from 5 disciplines to over 30, most of which are not restricted. Today, over 70% of PEO members do not need their P.Eng. With each new discipline, we have become less relevant. The original 5 disciplines each had 3 members on council. These gatekeepers were the links between council and the members per discipline. These links are now severed. There is no easy way for members to report practice issues. So now, we have 30% of engineering work done by non-engineers. A self-regulating profession must be member-driven. We must empower PEO members by discipline to advise council so that only P.Engs do engineering. My opponent has an opposite view. He voted against holding a referendum, against listening to members. In contrast to my opponents, I offer a wealth of experience and a solid track record of positive change. See the back of my flyer. My friends, experience matters. Now is not the time to take chances with inexperience and narrow visions. Now is the time to trust in someone who will deliver positive change. With your support, we can empower PEO members to bring us back to relevancy. Trust in the voice of experience. Vote Peter DeVita for president-elect. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished moderator and PEO members. I know you're wondering, and it's a good thing to wonder, why am I running for president-elect of PEO? It's simple. I'm running to give you choice. You deserve to have highly qualified candidates running for leadership positions on council, and in this election you have great candidates to choose from. That's a sign of a healthy organization, an organization with staying power and the ability to weather the coming storm. Based on my 6 years of leadership experience on the Government Liaison Committee, first serving as committee member and then elected as chair 2 years ago, I have closely followed the regulatory issues that are challenging PEO. So you might say that I've had my finger on the pulse of PEO for the past 6 years. As chair of Government Liaison Committee, I've had the privilege of supporting chapters taking action in their communities as they host Take Your MVP to Work days. Over the past 2 years, I've personally attended 6 of these events organized by PEO chapters across the province. And I get to work with a great group of engineers on my committee, including PEO councillors, GLP chairs, and representatives from Consulting Engineers of Ontario Engineers Canada, OSPI, and ESCO. I thank you for the important work that you do. And on October 26th, we delivered a successful joint relations conference with OSPI, and that was a first. Back to why I'm running for president-elect. There's a storm coming. Disruption is the new normal. To be prepared for the future, we need to change our thinking. We need to ask different questions, and we need to see the problem from a whole new perspective. That's what I bring to PEO. I bring a whole new perspective built on having my finger on the pulse of PEO on the regulatory issues, built on having served as chair on the board of a corporation with assets under management of $165 million, and built on leading a national organization of business and professional women. In this election, you have choices. If you want the same, vote for someone else. If you want different, vote for me. Darla Campbell, Building the Future Together. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Darla. For the people dialing over the phone, could you please mute your line by pressing *6?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Brown. I'm currently your Vice President on PEO Council. I also sit on the board for Engineers Canada, and I also sit on the accreditation board through Engineers Canada, representing you in those capacities. I think we've got, 2 minutes here? So a couple of things I want you to consider here. My colleagues here talk about wanting to have experience, knowledge base, and so on. I'm a practicing structural engineer as well, and I've owned and started my own company 23 years ago. And I'm slowly working my way out the back door through two things I want you to think very carefully about here. Succession planning and good governance, something that we've been lacking significantly in PEO over the years. In recent history, council has looked at doing cherry-picking aspects of the governance aspects. One of them is the term limits task force at Nancy. I don't know where Nancy went to sit here, but put her hand up or whatever. But she's been working on that with another colleague that used to be on council as well. But what we're doing is we're taking small little aspects of governance and looking at it. We talk about having good leadership qualities. I've only been involved in this for 3 years, so even though you're seeing gray hair up here, I've got 3 years experience, but it's current experience. And council has made me the appointed vice president. That means the 28 people around that table have voted me to be your vice president. So those people know that I have leadership skills and I can get things done. I have a track record for that. Normally the past president gets voted on to the Engineers Canada Board after serving their term as president. But I actually got voted onto it, the first seat in the first ballot by council. So that tells you that in the 3 years, what I've been able to do to have people lead and fellowship. If you want leadership experience that is, 2 decades ago, then that's what you have. But if you want to move forward, I want you to consider good governance aspects when you vote, and then check the facts. My recent email for eBlast 2, set the facts. It's not about a turn of facts, ladies and gentlemen. It's about the real facts.
Thank you very much, David. We'll start with our first question. PEO is considering establishing term limits for all council positions. Do you agree? And we will start with David.
Are you picking on me again? I always have to go first. How does this work exactly? Who picks this?
Okay, that's an easy one. I just answered that question. I don't even need to take 30 seconds for that. Of course I agree with term limits. I mean, my platform, if you've looked at it, is about succession planning. I believe that we need to, and I have to stand up for a second. This chapter is amazing. When I sit back and look at this room, I walk in, I had a smile on my face. Look at the diversity in this room. And more specifically for me, age diversity. That's something that I'm all about. And that task force got set up by a briefing note that I presented in council because I believe in it that strongly. Okay, who's number 2 or 3?
Darla. Peter. Peter.
Thank you. In 1997, I actually chaired the election reform task force, and part of the reason why you're here is because of the new concepts we introduced at that point in time. We got rid of the nominating committee and we introduced the Central Election and Search Committee. As part of that report, we also introduced the ideas of term limits. So it's nice to see 20 years later we're starting to finally get back to such things. So obviously I support term limits, but here's the key. It's not about stopping people from being on council. The idea that we proposed is that you progress through council. So you do 2 terms as regional councillor, then you move to councillor at large, and then you move to vice president and you move all the way up. So it's not a matter of saying 2 terms and that's it, you're done. It's let's move you through the organization, keep that experience there, but move through and let younger people come in at the lower end. Thank you.
Good answer.
And we'll have Darla.
Great, this question is about term limits, and I've been a strong advocate of term limits in all areas, and not just at PEO Council. I think it's important to give opportunities for new leadership, not necessarily younger people, although younger people are an important part of it. I think it's for diversity of opinion and perspective. And when you know that you're there for a period of time, and it's a finite period of time, I think we actually work harder during that period that we're there, and we get to focus our energies because we know that there's an exit ramp that we need to take, and we need to be done the work, the important work that we're doing before our time is up. And I think that allows us to be active volunteers and passionate volunteers for PEO Council.
Thank you, Darla. Our second question is, what do you think of the industrial exception, section 12(3)(a) of the Professional Engineering Act? And we'll start with Darla.
I will take that one, but
So the question is, what do I think of it? I think it shouldn't have been there in the first place. And I'm going to just start there, that there was a decision that was made in the past to add the industrial exception to the Professional Engineering Act. It only exists in Ontario. I understand it was done at a time to try to spur the economy and get manufacturing moving forward, and now we're stuck with it. And so we are working hard to remove it from our act, trying to cancel or trying to repeal the industrial exception. We were close to having it in place. Government simply needed to proclaim that, and then the government changed their mind. And so we have one more kick at the can, as they say, as this is going to second committee, hearings at committee. I believe that we're making progress, and we need to continue to fight for the right to practice engineering, and it's important.
Thank you, Darla. We'll have Peter.
Thank you. The industrial exception came into the Act in 1983. I was president of the Canadian Society of Professional Engineers at the time, and I fought it very hard then, and I continue to fight that exception in the Act today. We're taking the wrong tack, though. When we talk about safety, that's the wrong way to go. We've got PSRs today where engineers are involved, and so PEO has a way around it. What we need to talk about is serving the profession, and that's where we're really losing out. If you look at the OECD statistics, Canada has the worst invention rates and the worst productivity enhancement rates in the world. That's why we're losing a third of our manufacturing jobs, 400,000 jobs a third of manufacturing, 400,000 jobs. That's the value that engineers add. That's the message we need to get through. We need to work with Canadian manufacturers and say engineering is important to you, and we would like to help you use engineers. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And now
Okay, I'm not going to add anything to what my colleagues have said. They've done their reading, and they know what we're dealing with council, and I don't want to tell you that I've been awake at council. Obviously, I'm standing here because I've been awake at council. What I want to look at here with this is that I agree that it should never have been put in the first place. And sadly, what we're up against right now is a mountain of political opposition. And that's what we're struggling with. Now, to get through that avenue of that and the fearmongers among CMA specifically that have a very, very strong lobby group with the government that are killing this or put it on the shelf and will most likely kill it, we have to have a different strategy to come back and look at that. And it is not on safety. What it is going to be around is a political solution to have it removed. And it's sad that it got put there in the first place because, as was noted by Darla, I think, it's the only province that has that. And we're looking at data. We're looking at data with PEO to be able to come up with alternative ways to be able to tackle this. But it is a big problem, no doubt.
Thank you, David. Now we will conclude with our closing remarks, and we will start with David.
How I get this lottery all the time. Everywhere I go, I gotta talk first. Listen, I just want to keep it short. Here's the thing is that, how many here read the second e-blast? Let's have a show of hands, please. Let's have some audience interaction. Okay, well, please do. Every year I struggle with, and how long do I have? 1 minute, 30 seconds? Did I just waste 10 of it? What I'm concerned about here is that every year, and this is the standard protocol, year after year, the sky is falling. PEO is spending too much money. We're not doing enough with the money we have. We're making castles in the sky that's our head office. And I hear it, and I heard it before I got on council. In fact, that's some of the reasons why I actually put my name in to get on council in the first place. The truth of the matter is that if you really want to regulate the practice of engineering in Ontario, you need to have very strong leadership skills. You're sitting with a group of 28 people. By the way, these roles here, we don't even get a vote, okay? So that's what we're at. What we're looking for is good leadership skills, current knowledge of what we're doing and why, and then my biggest thing I want to do is bring people through the system. Succession planning by good governance. And that's why, and you'll watch me, I did 2 terms, some of the other members there, 2 terms at regional to learn the ropes. I went to vice president and president, and if I'm elected and I finish and do a good job for you, hopefully you trust I will go to pasture. I promise you, I will never come back.
going out to pasture.
Just about the regular pasture.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the York chapter for hosting this event. I think it's a really important part of engagement, and I want to thank our moderator for keeping us on time, and Kim, our timekeeper, for keeping us on time. And I want to thank you for being here on a Saturday morning. I can think of a dozen other things I would prefer to be doing this morning, and I'm sure you too have a long list of important things to do. This election is actually, for me, it's about engagement. And if we don't increase the number of voters that actually vote in this election, we could lose our right to self-regulate. Like, it's that serious. So 10% of voters is not enough. We need to get upwards of lots of engagement. So my ask of you is to talk to every P.Eng that you know and encourage them to vote. Vote for me, vote for my competitors, vote, but just get out and vote because it is so important. I chose engineering because I was good at science and math. There were other choices I could have had, but I chose engineering because it came with a profession. And every single day of my career, I live and breathe being a P.Eng. And I want to share that, and I want to keep that opportunity for future generations. And I will fight for and improve the value of the P.Eng and raise the profile of the P.Eng as your leader, as your president-elect.
Thank you very much, Darla, and we will have
Thank you. Well, fellow engineers, the profession continues to march towards irrelevancy. Less than 30% of our members need their P.Eng. 30% of engineering work is done by non-engineers. 60% of our engineering graduates in the last 10 years cannot find engineering jobs. We must empower PEO members on a discipline-specific basis. Our members' practice issues must drive our profession so that only P.Engs are doing engineering. Opposite to a member-driven profession, my opponent voted against holding a referendum. In contrast to my opponents, I have the experience and a proven track record. Now is not the time to take chances with inexperience and narrow visions. Now is the time to trust in someone who will deliver positive change. Make the engineering profession relevant in all engineering disciplines. With your support, we can empower PEO members. Trust in the voice of experience. Vote Peter DeVita for president-elect. Thank you.
President-elect candidates. And next, we will open up the floor for questions, but I would like to just rearrange the setting. If we could have all the candidates sit on the first two rows, we'll have the president-elect on this side first row, and then we'll have the vice president candidates on the right side first row, and then we'll have the regional on the second row this side, and member candidates at large.
You got the right seat. So stay where you are.